Hi, I'm Cengiz Erisen, Associate Professor of Political Science at TOB University of Economics and Technology in Turkey. In this podcast, I'm going to talk about an article that I published with Milton Lodge and Charles Tabor in the Journal of Political Psychology. This article is positioned in the broader theory of rationalization of political behavior championed by my co-authors. Our paper focuses on a critical aspect of this theory, which by and large argues that political attitudes, judgments, preferences, and thinking strongly rely on subtle and incidental affective cues. Our approach in this article stands on the dual process models that suggest that uncontrolled affective processes drive behavior, either directly or indirectly, through the generation of conscious considerations. The theory stems from early research in neurosciences and social psychology that found that processing occurs in two systems. In the first system, known as the unconscious system, processing occurs outside of awareness. It is spontaneous, fast, automatic, and impulsive. The second system is referred as the conscious system, where processing is explicit, slow, deliberative, and effortful. There's probably hundreds of studies repeatedly showed the dual nature of information processing. Perhaps one of the first things that comes to mind when speaking of subtle and incidental cues is examples from real life. Several early studies showed the effects of real-world phenomena such as place of voting, ballot order, symbols and emotive music used in ads, candidate appearance, race, gender, and facial attractiveness. Sometimes people notice these cues that are present in front of them but do not appreciate their effects, such that one is consciously aware of the location while casting a vote but do not know how the location will influence the individual decision read at that particular location. Yet, sometimes these effects are rather subtle. One of those occurred during the 2000 presidential election campaign when the Republican National Committee aired a political ad across the United States. This was a negative ad attacking Al Gore's prescription drug plan for the senior citizens. At one point in the ad, the word "rats" is flashed on the screen, which then formed a part of the phrase "bureaucrats decide." A study replicated the same effect and found that the rats prime shown on the screen for a very brief duration led people to dislike the presidential candidate and oppose his policy. In short, we argue that we are constantly under the influence of these kinds of effects in our daily lives. Publicly popular books, such as Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, and Gut Feelings by Gerd Gigerenzer, show how these effects influence daily activities of ordinary citizens in various ways. Given these real-world examples, our goal in this paper was to test the influence of affective primes in political thinking through an affective priming procedure. An affective priming procedure refers to the presentation of a prime so fast that the brain objectively registers the stimulus, yet it does not pass the threshold of subjective conscious awareness. We use primes that were presented for only 39 milliseconds on the computer screen, an exposure time well below the generally accepted limit of 200 milliseconds to be considered as subliminal. Our affective primes were simple cartoon faces with no association to the political topic studied. As a result, our priming procedure was purely affective in nature, unlike earlier research where scholars used words and pictures that had semantic associations. In our experiments, we simply manipulated the affective prime each participant received. We found strong evidence for two things. First, in two studies, we consistently found the effects of the affective primes on thoughts recalled by the participant, on political issues of immigration and energy security. A positive prime of a simple, smiling cartoon face promoted more positive thoughts and inhibited negative thoughts, and vice versa, the negative prime of a frowning cartoon face promoted negative thoughts and inhibited positive thoughts on the same issues and policies. The prior attitude on the targeted issue did not wash out the significant influence of these affective primes. Our second finding refers to the downstream effects of affect-evoked thoughts. Our findings were again robust, showing that affect-evoked negative thoughts reduce support for the policy, while positive thoughts increase support. On average, we predicted a 20% change by the affect-evoked thoughts on policy evaluations collected at least 30 minutes after the receipt of the first prime. We believe that these findings speak to a number of critical issues in political science. First and foremost, the understanding of political behavior, simply on the basis of self-reported responses, demands reconsideration. Secondly, these effects speak to the norms of democratic citizenry. As recently addressed by Larry Baltels in a popular political science blog, these findings challenge the principles of how we perceive citizens. Given the discussions of rationality and rational decision-making offered since the Enlightenment, these fleeting and subtle affective influences certainly make us to think whether an adjustment is necessary.